Well, hello there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. I'm a confidence coach that enhances women's confidence through their skincare, their color cosmetics, as well as their self care. And today we're talking about self care, how to love thyself like thy neighbor. I have one of my girlfriends, Syreeta Fields, in the background. She is an inspirational speaker, she is a massage therapist, as well as a business owner and author. She's a happy wife of two, and her interest is in healing the mind, the body, and the spirit. And she is all about promoting self-love and self-care. So I am so excited to share Syreeta with you today. So we will see you inside. Hey, Syreeta girl, what's going on?
All right. Hey, how you doing, Ingafay? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, girl. So excited to have you here today. We are really wanting to hear everything you have to say about how to love thyself like thy neighbor. But before we get into that today, give us a little bit more information about you, who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Okay, so the type of people I work with as a massage therapist is, of course, people who are into be healed, whether, it's their body, their mind. A lot of times they always say, they want to eat better, they want to take care of themselves. So that's where it started with me, with the type of people I would help would be my clients. And eventually it got to just being able to help people in general who are struggling with loving themselves, struggling with healing, because a lot of times I would mentor or help those who are having trouble in their marriages, who are having trouble waiting until marriage, and who are really having trouble with dating. So I found a lot of that like in my group with family members and friends.
Cool. So tell me this, what does it mean to love yourself, and what does it look like on a daily basis?
So what it means to me to love yourself is really loving who you are and loving who you are becoming. And what that looks like for me is just routine, like when I get up in the morning, spending time with the Lord. And what I mean by spending time with the Lord is magnifying Him, thanking Him for who He is, and then really going into being thankful for the things that I have. I feel like we live in a time where we want so much, but we don't realize what's in front of us. And we don't utilize what we have already. So that's very important to me. And it eventually goes off to, letting the Lord know how I feel about things. That's another thing, I would carry so much on me, which will result to how I would feel about myself. And then it goes off to a simple thing. Once I spend time with the Lord, go into meditation and everything else and prayer, I would just make me a nice breakfast. Some people can go without eating breakfast, but me, it's a part of showing love to myself by feeding my body, making sure my body has the nutrients it needs, making sure I have the vitamins that I need, and things like that. And as well as exercising when I can. So as you guys see, I have an 8-month-old daughter. So exercising at first before I had her was simple. I was able to get in, some cardio. I was able to really take care of myself, but now it's about her, right? So if I do have time, I will squeeze in some exercises, and what that does, that helps me with my mind, my body. It just helps everything being tied in. But yeah, those are some things I do for myself to show myself love. And then something so simple, I have to have at least one self-care day out the week, whether it's to go get my nails done, to get a pedicure. I know ladies out there, y'all love y'all manicures, pedicures, but I look at it as, a way of showing myself that I really appreciate myself enough to know that I can take care of myself and do the things that I love to do, which really came from when I was younger. So this is not an all of a sudden thing. This is something I've always been doing for myself. Getting my hair done if I can, just really grooming myself, making sure that I'm presentable. So that is another way that I show myself love, is doing some type of self-care, whether it's massage, whether it's, a day where I go, to a spa or something. So yeah, those are some things that I actually do for myself to show myself love.
Awesome. So tell me a time when you experienced self-hate, and what did that look like for you?
So when I experience self-hate, it's usually after I'm speaking. And it don't have to be like on a large platform. It can be just speaking to someone, or, whether it's a gathering, whatever. And recently I had this happen where I was at a summit, and of course I had something to say, which I feel like I always do, especially when it's conversational, especially when it's something I can relate to. I had something to say, and after I said it, I noticed this routine. I noticed this same feeling, and it was like, did I really mean to say what I said? Being someone that's very testimonial, that love telling stories, that love, just really engaging people and audiences to help them. I was at that place like, did I go too deep when I said it? And it just kept lingering on in my head during that time, like right after I said it. And it took for someone to come up to me and say, I'm glad you said what you said. I noticed with me, I'm actually different. Like when I speak, from a place that maybe somebody else isn't talking about. And that's where I start to feel alone at. And I start to feel like, oh my goodness, like, could I have said it a different way? Or could I have left out something? So I go into feeling discouraged, I go into beating myself up. And that's a form of beating myself up by just saying something like that. Like, why did I say that, Syreeta? You didn't have to, you know what I'm saying? So if anybody understands what that's like, that's the war that I would go through in my head. And it eventually make me feel sad. It eventually make me feel like, why did I do that? Why did I say that type of thing? So that's when I experience self-hate about myself usually.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced that at some point, though.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that when you speak, and I know that I can say this personally for me, if it's something that I feel like I have to say,
yeah,
that is when it's like really passionate. And that's probably more of the time that I'm kind of more cognizant of what I'm saying, more so if I had handwritten it out, because it came straight from the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I definitely understand what you mean when you say that. I see your little girl, she wants to talk too, huh?
Yes. She is always, girl, always when I'm doing speaking engagement, she wants to sit with me.
Yeah, I see that. She's
and
all in.
I have to like
took the pacifier out and she was like, I want to talk too.
Exactly.
So tell me this, how do you change the experience when you have that self-hate? How do you change that into something positive?
You know what? I had to really learn that God doesn't see me that way. I'm going to go into something so deep, and I always do this. When you're experiencing something now that's difficult, you have to trace back to your childhood. You have to trace back to a traumatic experience, something that happened that has led you to this place where, you may have trouble making decisions like I have. You had trouble with speaking, getting words out. What's the root of it? Because it has to be a root. And for me, I've realized one of my family members, when I was a child, she would tell me or ask me, what did you read? And this is going into doing homework, right? And this is something I definitely remember. And even though I didn't know the answer, I was like, okay, let me, she's asking me, and it was kind of like taunting, like, give me an answer now. And I just was like, okay, I'm gonna give you my answer. And it was wrong. And I got punished for it. So I realized as an adult, I had to, not only forgive that person, but also to walk out my healing and realize that God doesn't see me that way. He sees me as his child. He sees me as his daughter. And I'm learning, even with my relationship with the Lord, is that we're not perfect. We're not perfect at all. We're gonna mess up. Things are gonna happen, and you just have to walk through it without discouraging yourself, without, those questions in your head, saying what I didn't do, because God doesn't expect us to have it right away. It takes training, it takes experiences, it just takes whole preparation. And I will go into the times we're in now, especially with social media. It appears everyone has things together, but you don't know their process. We all have a process. We all have something we need to go through. So that helps me in a time where I want to, beat myself up, is realize that God does not see me that way. And also to give myself grace. This is something I had to learn even when I was pregnant. I had to give myself grace and realize, what I'm going through is a different phase of life. And now I just have to be able to adjust. So giving yourself grace too, I had to learn that about myself to encourage me. And also going back to how God sees me, I have to meditate on scriptures. I have to realize that, just having something positive in my ear, because our mind can take us to a different place, y'all. It really can. So you have to be careful with what you're meditating on. So yeah, those are the things, ways I encourage myself.
Okay. Yes, I totally agree with that, because your mindset is everything, and it all starts in your mind. So when it comes to you doing certain things or really stepping outside of your comfort zone, like you talked about, you fail in your mind first, and your mind will stop you from making any kind of action. But what we have to realize is that everything that we do is a learning experience. And even if we fail at it, it's given us feedback on how to do it better the next time. So it's not a bad thing to fail. It's actually a good thing to fail, because when you put yourself outside of your comfort zone, you're building that courage muscle and that faith muscle that you can do something that you're not used to doing. So when you have to do it again, you have that memory of, well, I did X, Y, Z and it was okay. Now I can do this again. It's kind of similar to what you're talking about. When you have those negative experiences, you go back and you rely on those negative experiences. We have to replace those negative experiences with positive experience, so we can rely on the positive to get us through the times of the unknown.
Exactly. Because that's our energy, that's our fuel. And that's what I work on every day, is when I feel those thoughts coming in, I pick up a book that's encouraging. I love crossword puzzles. I love coloring. Like, I find myself doing things that I love to do. So that's another thing, just really figuring out your outlet, what you love to do. And that helps you get through, whenever you have those negative thoughts. Exactly.
Okay, so why do you think it's important to love yourself like you love your neighbor?
All right, y'all. So I don't feel like that came from myself, because I'm like, first off, I had to dig in the Bible to see what it means. So loving yourself like your neighbor, when I was reading the Bible and really just taking some time to meditate on it, it's in there like so many times, it's in there so many times telling you that you should love yourself like your neighbor. But it doesn't really talk about loving yourself, right? It doesn't really specify on that. But what it does specify is loving God. So what we need to realize is, when we don't like ourselves, when we hate ourselves or anything like that, we're really saying we don't like God. We don't like what he created. And when I received that, I said, wow, like, it's bigger than what you think. Before you can love your neighbor, you must love yourself. And guess what? In order to love yourself, you must love God. So how can you have any type of relationship with your family members, anything like that, but you don't know how to love yourself? You steadily criticizing yourself. So you come off to criticizing others. You come off to disliking others. So it is very important to realize how all that connects. And it's in the scripture I want to tell you guys that I was, meditating on, is the love of God. 1 John 4:7-8, definitely says, if anybody loves, it's from God. It's the love of God. And when you don't love, it's not from him. because that's the way he operates. So when you love your neighbor, you can't love your neighbor if you don't know how to love yourself first. So that's what my meaning is for that.
Awesome. That was good. That was really good.
Yes.
So I'm curious, tell us a little bit about your book. I know you said you wrote a book in 2018. Is that in reference to what we're talking about today, or is it another topic?
Actually, it is. My book, Transformation from Rejection to Deliverance, is definitely about how God transformed my heart. I used to be one, who was full of rejection and experiencing it from birth, from when my biological father wasn't there. But then it was like a cover up, and I had to find out through one of my family members. And, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, I was glad it did happen, or else I would have been living this mystery, type of life, trying to find out who I am. So for me, it came to a place where I started going through self-discovery. Was it pretty? No, it wasn't. Like, it took for me to go through failed relationships, failed opportunities, it just took so much, that I had to go through to get to that place. But my book definitely is about how God transformed my heart from being feeling rejected, from not having my biological father in my life, to feeling rejected and relationships. And just really, it came out to be a cry, like, Lord, send me someone who is for me, and my mind was blown because, I did at a young age dedicate my life to Christ. Didn't know what that was like until, I got older, and then rededicating my life again to Christ. And what it all results to is him transforming my heart and leading me to my husband. Like, my husband found me, and that was one of the things he said about me that attracted him to me, was my heart. And it definitely made me, emotional. Like, okay, if you only knew the type of person I used to be. So my book is really good. It's about my life. It's about what I've been through, and just the journey, right? The journey of self-love, the journey of just walking this thing out with relationships, dating. And yeah, that it's a really good read. And what I usually will have for my readers, every time they read it, they will say they see themselves in it. They can be encouraged by it. So yeah, y'all, it's a really good book. It really is.
Awesome. So before we go, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with my audience in regards to loving thyself like your neighbor?
I will say, whatever you do, start to take time and just thank God for who you are. We live in this time where we got a lot of copycats. We got a lot of people that's like, oh, she doing it this way, or he doing it that way, I want to do it that way too. But your calling may be something else, and I feel like God made us all unique in our own way, okay? And we have to own that. We have to own that, accept it first, right? And own it and walk it out and not be ashamed. So I will tell you guys, love who you are and love who you are becoming. Love your processes. We are not going to get it every single time that first time. It's going to take some tries. It's going to take some tribulations. But the thing is, you want to walk it out and don't quit. And don't quit on yourself, definitely.
Awesome, girl. That was good. That was some good word right there. That was some good
yes.
word. So I wanted to share with my audience a link to your Facebook group. You can tell them a little bit about this and who you serve inside your group.
Okay. So like I shared with you guys earlier, I usually serve like my clients, my family, my friends. Well, this is actually my community that I built after I published my book. So once I realized I had some great feedbacks, how encouraging it was, I just thought, like, I need to encourage more people. I need to help more people, especially the ones who are struggling with dating, who are struggling with waiting on something. I believe, as an overcomer, as myself, that I have the tools and even being able to use my own experiences to help others. So this group, Winning While Waiting, is actually a group where singles, even those who've been divorced, separated, even the married, are welcome to join so that we all know that we're in some type of process. And my group, majority of them is waiting on marriage, okay? So they need encouragement about marriage. They need encouragement while being single, because a lot of times we miss that process while we're mourning, right? We're mourning being single, but at the same time don't realize that that's the process to get us through that aisle, to get married. So it's a really great group. That's where everyone could come together and say what they're really struggling with, what they need help with. I usually pray over them. I usually encourage them with quotes. And yeah, it's a really good group. So y'all, if you feel like, you're led to a community where you need to know that you're not the only one that's going through what you're going through, make sure you join my group, Winning While Waiting.
Awesome. Well, girl, I can definitely relate to that. I know I used to have a girlfriend that always told me that I needed to enjoy my singlehood, because once you got married, it was totally different. And I always wondered when she said
miss it, right?
Yeah. I mean, is it bad? I used to wonder. I was like, why are you saying that? Is it bad? She was like, no, it's not bad. It's just different. And when you make that transition, you think about when you were single and the different things that you were able to do that because you're married, you're not able to do.
Exactly.
So it was just eye-opening. And then when I did get married, it became very obvious to me what she was saying. I didn't understand it at that particular time when she was saying it to me. But then when I got married, it was just like, this is what she meant. Yeah.
Exactly. Because like you said, I'm married too, of course, and we're going on 5 years. So I do have those moments like, man, when I was single, this is what I did, but not to mourn over it. And that's why it's so important to enjoy that process while you're in it, because you're going to end up mourning it. I know couples that's brink of being separated, brink of can't stand each other. Because they're like, before you came, this is what I used to do, blah, blah, blah. And they blame their spouses. They blame their spouses for, I guess, quote unquote, ending their fun. So that's why it's so important. You want to enjoy where you're at so that you won't come out blaming somebody when you get to that place. I love being married. I do. I love my family. And every time I have that chance, I think back like, I'm glad I went through everything I went through when I was single. I'm glad, they say, get it out your system. I'm glad I went through that. And when my husband came, I was at that place of enjoying single womanhood. You want to be, when you're found, ladies, you want to be found working and really enjoying who you are, who you're becoming, being single, all that good stuff. Because when my husband came, it was too good to be true. It just felt like, are you serious? I thought it was me and you, Lord, to the end, But yeah, you hit it right on the head, and you definitely need to be thankful and enjoy that process of being single. Yes.
I would totally agree. Well, girl, thank you so much for sharing with us. You've brought so much value to my community today. Okay. And if you guys want to get in touch with Syreeta, by all means, you can contact her via her group. I do also have her social media handles down in the description that you can also get access to her there. But again, girl, thank you so much for your wisdom and your time today. And for all that are watching, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye, y'all. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed you guys.